Hello everyone, my name is Shofia and Ulya. Today, I would like to present my midterm project about cross-cultural understanding. In this presentation, I will explain about what culture is, the characteristics and elements of culture, and also about the definition of cross-cultural understanding and why it is important for us as English learners. Also, I would like to tell you about one cultural difference between Eastern and Western culture, Indonesia versus English culture. The first material is about the definition of culture. So, culture is the complex set of shared beliefs, values, customs, and behaviors that characterize a society or group of people. In simple words, culture is how people live, think, and act in their daily lives. It influences everything we do, from how we greet others, what we eat, and how we communicate with others. Next is about the characteristic of culture. Culture has several main characteristics. First, culture is shared. So it's not just owned by one person or one individual. It owns by a group of people in a society. They own the culture together. Second, culture is learned. So it was just innate from a mother to a daughter. The daughter needs to learn the culture to understand what the culture she lives in. And the last is culture is dynamic. It's not static. It can change over the time because of technology, globalization, or social influence. Next is about the elements of culture. The first element is language. Language is one of the most important elements of culture because it's the main way people communicate and share ideas. Without a language, people cannot communicate and cannot shape a culture. The next element is religion. Religion influences people's behavior, celebration, and moral values. It gives guidance on what is right and what is wrong, and it often shapes daily habits. The next element is values. Values are the shared ideas about what is good, right, and important in a society. They guide how people make decisions and treat others. The fourth element is worldview. Worldview means how people see and interpret the world. It includes their beliefs about life, nature, and human relationships. And the last element is history. History is also an element of culture because it explains how a culture developed over time. A nation that has a history of war has different culture with a nation that didn't have a history of war. And now we are talking about the definition of cross-cultural understanding. So, cross-cultural understanding is the ability to respect, adapt to, and communicate properly with people from different cultures. It's not just about learning another language, but also about understanding the meanings, habits, and values behind it. This ability helps us become open-minded and avoid misunderstanding when we interact with people from different backgrounds. Why cross-cultural understanding is important for English learners. For English department students, cross-cultural understanding is very important because first, it helps us communicate effectively with native speakers or people from other countries. So it will help us to avoid misunderstanding or misperception. Second, it helps us develop cultural intelligence, which is a useful skill in the modern world. Third, it improves our understanding of language and literature because culture and language are deeply connected. So, if we understand other culture, we can understand the myth or idioms in the culture. And finally, it also prepares us for global opportunity such as studying abroad or working in an international environment or international company. Now, I will tell you about one cultural difference between Western and Eastern culture. It's about how they communicate. Direct versus indirect. In Eastern countries, such as Indonesia, the people are tend to communicate indirectly to keep harmony and politeness. The meaning of the sentence they are saying often depends on tone, gesture, and situation. So we cannot just conclude the meaning from the sentence they are saying by the sentence only. We also need to see the gesture and facial expression. On the other hand, in the Western countries such as the UK, the people are communicating directly and clearly. They value honesty and efficiency over politeness. So, a chit chat or courtesy it doesn't valuable for them. They prefer a straightforward communication. Now let's take a look into real life example of direct and indirect communication. For example, in a situation of refusing an invitation, the Indonesian people that using indirect communication would not directly saying no when they are refusing the invitation. For example, when a person asks them, "Can you come to my party tonight?" And when they are refusing the invitation, they're gonna say, "I would like to come to your party tonight, but sorry, I can't. Maybe next time." So they are not directly saying no when they're refusing the invitation. But in the other culture, such as Western culture in United Kingdom that use direct communication, when a person refusing an invitation, they are bravely enough to say no to the person who invites them. For example, "Can you come to my party tonight?" "No, I can't come." Just that. It's direct and clear enough. They are not gonna trying to be soft or polite. They are just gonna say what they mean. And in a situation of giving feedback, the Indonesian people are tend to praise the person first. For example, like, "It's good, but maybe you can," or "It's already good, but maybe you can make some improvement." In the other hand, in Western countries such as the UK, when there are some mistakes, they are gonna directly say it. Like, "There are some mistakes in your work, please fix them." They are not gonna praise the person first. They're just gonna say where's the mistake and you need to fix them. And this direct and indirect communication is correlated with Edward T. Hall's context orientation theory about high context culture and low context culture. The Indonesian or Eastern culture is considered into high context culture because the meaning of the communication comes from the context, tone, facial expression, and shared understanding. It's not just come from the words. While in the other hand, in United Kingdom, in Western culture, there is low context because the meaning they express is clearly and especially just only through the words. They are didn't really matters about the tone, facial expression, or etc. The meaning they get from the communication is directly from the words they are saying. So that's why the Indonesian people are considered into high context culture because it requires more things to understand about what they are saying. It requires not just the words, but also the tone, facial expression, and shared understanding. On the other hand, the UK people or the British people, they are considered into low context because they are just gonna need the words only to understand about what they are communicating. Now we have come into the conclusion and reflection session. So, what I can conclude from my presentation today is culture shapes the way we live and communicate. The way we think, act, talk is not just based on personal preference, but also based on the environment we live in or we grow up in. And then the Indonesian culture is high context, which is indirect and polite. But in the other hand, British culture is low context, is more direct and clear. The tone, facial expression, and gesture is matter a lot in Indonesian culture, but in Western cultures such as British or United Kingdom is not. And I also learned that understanding other culture helps avoid misperception. When we already understand about other culture, for example, the British culture, when the British people directly say no to us, we are not gonna be disappointed and we're just gonna be fine with it because we understand that they are communicating directly and clear. And I also learned about other culture that learning other culture can increase my tolerance and respect. So, in conclusion, I think learning about cross-cultural understanding is really important for us. That's all my presentation. Thank you for watching and see you next time.